taking a look at AMC stock, we have a lot to cover. We have earnings to cover. We have them accepting Bitcoin, all great stuff. Broke through a downward trend resistance line right here. Now we have this downward trend resistance line to pass. What I'm talking about downward trend resistance line is when it goes up, it has difficulties to pass. So it got knocked down. Again, went up, got knocked down, went up, got knocked down. Yes, had a false breakout, but even after the fact, when it tried to pass it, it still got knocked down. Now the question is, are we going to pass it this time around? So I'm going to elaborate more on that as well. And quick disclaimer before I continue, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a professional. Everything I do share with you is just my opinion. It is not advice. So please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. Now I'm going to cover what price points are going to be difficult to pass. But before I get to that, I'm going to talk about a little bit of earnings and Bitcoin. So if we go to AMC stock and go into the news, right about here, I'm just going to do headline reading because it's essentially just encompassing quick stuff. So AMC earnings was a beat. The only thing is, though, the revenue obviously was below, but that's just due to the nature of the whole entire pandemic in terms of recovery. But then the next thing is AMC will start accepting Bitcoin for US tickets and concessions, which is good news in my opinion, just because if you value Bitcoin in general and cryptocurrency as almost like an investment, that's why I value it as, because if you think in the future it's going to go up, then whatever you get for it now, it will grow essentially in the future. Obviously, there's massive volatility to it, dips and spikes, but if you just hold it, hypothetically, it should go up. Now, if we look at short positions, so I went to, again, AMC stock statistics. This is valuable because this is going to help today's run up overall. So if you look at short positions for floated shares and outstanding shares, difference between the two is floated does not include restricted shares, outstanding does include restricted shares, but they're relatively the same for AMC stock, which is not always the case for every stock, and they're almost at 16%. The reason why this is important is because when a stock is extremely shorted, right now it's not extremely shorted in terms of raw numbers, but if you include naked shorted shares, which there's potential that this stock could be naked shorted, which means that it's shorted without having possession of the stock, which is technically illegal in some countries and in gray areas in some countries too as well. But if there's enough, this could be over 20%, which would put it into extremely shorted territory. Right now, technically, it's not. And the reason why it's important is because the more shorted it is, the more of a chance that somebody who is shorting this stock in a greater amount will most likely cover before somebody else will cover. For example, if you have 3 hedge funds or whoever is shorting it, one of them decides to cover, then it could be like a domino effect where if one covers, they increase the price because they're covering a substantial amount, and then another one might be triggered to cover as well based off their risk tolerance or entry position in terms of short position. And then if you have like 10, obviously you have a more greater factor. Now in terms of pricing resistance levels that it needs to pass, the first level that I've covered, for example, yesterday, and yesterday's video will cover the stock in more details if you want to know the overall movement, but this is just more for the upside. So in terms of the upside, we have to pass $39 to $40 price point for the most part. After that, it's essentially, so the way I got that, just to let you know, it's not just from smokes and mirrors and all that stuff. So if you look right here, this is just going to be an amateur line for the most part right now. You could see right about here, every single time it almost tried to go up, it got knocked down around roughly about $39, $40 price point right about here horizontally. Again, this is just an amateur line right now that I just drew. The next level is around $43 to $46. But the main concern, again, that's a horizontal line, but then the most important one is this downward trend resistance line right here, which if it were to go up dramatically right now, right off the bat, straight to it, it's going to have difficulties to passing $48 price point. But more specifically, I would say between $48 to $50, maybe $51, right around there. If you want to hypothetically, in anticipation, there's a chance that it could hit 47 and come down, just because these are just ranges, and if you were to be safe. The only thing is though, if it were to spike up dramatically, the momentum might be crazy because again, it is extremely, it's heavily shorted based off raw numbers. If it's naked shorted and it's above 20%, then it's extremely shorted, where the momentum might just surpass everything. And if that's the case, then it would probably most likely pass the downward trend resistance line, which would be impressive because it is hypothetically overbought at the moment based off the 3-month chart. But again, the shorted positions is what would be the driving factor in momentum. Then you would be looking at this horizontal resistance level right about here, Hopefully you can see it. Went up, got knocked down twice right about here. Went up, got knocked down. Around roughly about here, got knocked down, got knocked down, got knocked down. So multiple touch points. Yes, had false breakouts, but this would be pretty monumental, hypothetically, based off today, breaking off multiple resistance levels, breaking a downward trend resistance level right about here around the $48, $50 price point, more specifically $48 price point. And then after that, you would be having issues passing $58 to the $60 price point. The reason why that's significant, or actually, sorry about that, it's more, $58, $59 price point, but it coincides with a psychological clean number, which is $60. So most likely would probably get, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, not advice, most likely would get knocked down around the $58, $59, $60 price point. And the reason why is because you're just breaking so many things. Best case scenario, it would consolidate around that price point. So let's just visually show. It would probably get knocked down and then just consolidate back and forth, maybe coming down to roughly about, $53 price point, and then probably bouncing back up to test for new highs. If all this happens, you're probably looking at this behavior, because if all these resistance lines break, I don't think I would see a full drop. So let's just say it has issues passing 48, then finally does, then it gets to 58, 56, $58, $59, $60, comes down to 53. You're probably forming an upward trend support line, and then it's probably going to break it again. So all these are amateur lines I'm drawing. So it would look like that to go to the upside. So we'll see what happens. But for the time being, those are the resistance levels that are going to be issues to pass or cause issues to pass. And hopefully the best happens. But that's basically it. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. If you like the video, consider dropping a like. It does help with the channel, so thank you so much for that. If you like this video or other stock videos, other financial videos I'll be posting in the future, consider subscribing so you'll be notified when I do upload those videos. And that's basically it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.